To be there. I'm actually singing in Westport tonight. Anyway, have a good evening. Bye.
A while back, I took part in a film, Confetti. It releases August 20th nationwide. I played a weird girl. Yes, that's me. Who moved to America with her mum and stayed with this fine lady. She was a perfectionist.
In America, it's impolite to slurp. Oh, no.
I have to be so proper and perfect. Sometimes I stick back to my old habits. After all, I'm an expert at it.
No slurp.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Sorry about that. We didn't get Amy Irving's full video. Oh well. She was just basically saying that she has a long history of dyslexia in her family, and she was welcoming all of you and thanking you. And yeah, she wasn't able to be at the premiere in New York either. And also, the woman who plays Lon, Juju, is like about to have a baby any day now. So she also could not make the trip to either New York or LA. So we did 2 different premieres, one in New York that's long over, and our lovely event here. So anyway, now I can call up all the real stars, starting with Matthew here. Yeah, I had a great role. I actually did do an acting scene and played a different character, and it got cut. So yeah, I wasn't in the movie except for that picture. And the funny story to that picture is Amy Irving, who plays my mother in the movie, hated the fact that I was doing that role because she thought I looked way too old to be her son. So yeah, that didn't go over well on set. Anyway, we can call up the real stars now. So my favorite, the most talented 13-year-old ever, who was 8 or 9 when she shot this, Harmonie He. Where's Harmonie? My God, I remember Harmonie. Yeah, you want to come up? Huh? Yeah, come up, yeah, so everyone can see you. Good job. I remember Harmonie when she was, 8, drawing me pictures on set of like monsters and self-portraits and running on the track in China, and now she's like as tall as me, a teenager, and like doing Marvel movies. So here she is. We can all clap for She was so good. She carried the movie. Okay, so next is George C. Tronsrue. George, who plays Teacher Thomas. Who definitely looks premiere ready tonight. And Tracy Ifeachor. Where's Tracy? Somewhere. Okay, the lovely and talented Tracy. And then some crew. So Sophie Hugh, who I mentioned before this screening. Sophie was our art director in New York and an associate producer. And then Qiana Conley, who's our music guru, responsible for all this music here, this beautiful music. She's here somewhere. There's Qiana. And I want to at least acknowledge, is Saida here? Did she show up? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, okay. And Kristen had to leave, I think. Our composer, our multi-Grammy award-winning composer, came by at the beginning of the screening and he had to leave. But that's all Qiana's doing anyway, so she can talk about that. And we had somebody also very iconic who wrote music for this, amazingly enough, that Qiana can tell us about. Anyway, so thank you, everybody. I'm just going to, I don't want to hear myself talk anymore. I'm just going to open this up to questions, and I can always kind of jump in.
But before we do, can we give it up for Josh Green? Like, he produced this thing from beginning to end, both continents, both sides of the ocean. Great job, man.
Sorry, be careful.
Great
Thank
job.
you, George. No, you could see how many people it took to make this happen. I'm honestly just one of them. But it was so much fun. It was the most challenging thing in my career, but also the most rewarding. And I've made so many relationships that I'm going to have the rest of my life, and so it's emotional for me. So it's good to be on stage with you all. I sat in an edit room with Anne and some other people for 1.5 years, and so it's so awesome to see this movie with the people that helped make it happen. So thank you to all of you. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Or, I can jump in and ask stuff, but if anybody has any questions, please jump in.
I'd like to know what was your interest in this movie?
Sure. Okay, I don't want to hear myself talk, but I'm happy to answer. Yeah, no, so I've known Anne Hu, the director, for probably 20 years. I worked with her on her very first movie, Shadow Magic. My then boss at the time, we sold that movie to a company called Sony Classics, who released it, and that movie won Anne the equivalent of the Chinese Oscar. So that was 20 years ago we sold that movie. So I met Anne 20 years ago. We made another movie together in 2005 or 6 that came out called Beauty Remains. That was a Mandarin language only, shot in China movie that my company helped produce. And we released that in the US. And then Anne went off and had a daughter. So she kind of disappeared for 10 years and we always stayed in touch. I always encouraged her to get back in the director's seat, and her daughter got old enough where she wanted to experience that again, and she obviously had a lot more stories to tell at that point, and her priorities had changed, and so we started developing movies, and I won't bore you with the long details, but we were actually making a completely different movie than this called The Chinese Model that was based on her daughter wanting to be a model at 13 years old. And we ended up developing that movie for about a year, and then we had a story meeting, and she was like, I don't want to do this movie anymore. I want to do a movie about this. And that was 2016, and then we kind of went down the path to making this film. So I was just right place, right time. You know, like I was Anne's partner, and I was gonna kind of be her producer for whatever she wanted to do. And of course, when she came, told us this story, it resonated on a lot of levels, and I love doing inspiring movies that have strong messages for inclusion and for recognizing innate beauty and people that overcome incredible odds to achieve the impossible. So, yeah, that's how I got involved. That's it. It's Anne. So, thank you for the question. I think it's Angela. Anybody else, or should I ask a question? Okay, go. You guys can.
That's a question for the producer.
Oh, really? Oh, thanks, George. Well, we all had challenges. We can all talk about that. I mean, for me, it was shooting in 2 countries. Like, it was navigating 2 systems that are completely different. George can speak to this better than me because he worked in China as an actor for many years, fluent in Mandarin, and but as a producer, navigating the 2 systems we took some of the same crew and actors to both countries. And then we had 2 completely different crews, and we were also navigating unions like the Screen Actors Guild. So trying to do that when you're shooting multi-country is at a certain budget level is very challenging. And then to do a movie that is seamless with 2 DPs and 2 crews, and to do a movie that hopefully resonates in both countries and around the world, just a lot of logistical, financial, challenges. So for me, that was the biggest challenge.
For me, I think since during the time of this shooting, it was my first ever feature film, and it was really intimidating in a way, but it was really, really exciting also, and it was my first time traveling for shooting as well, which was extremely cool, but it was also really nerve-wracking, and I had to face a huge set, and that was kind of scary too, because I've done short films before this, but then the sets were way smaller, so I was oh, what if I messed up or something? So that was scary. And another thing was that during China, it was the first time in 10 years or something, it was that cold. So yeah, that was it was really cold in China.
That school was freezing.
Yeah, and then the windows weren't fully glass, so we were freezing in the rooms.
No money for heaters.
I think that the hardest. What was the question? The biggest challenge? The biggest challenge for me was pretending that I don't speak Chinese, having because I did have a couple of lines in Chinese, and that was actually really hard because I usually act in China with really fluent Mandarin, so it's "wo ke yi bang ni zhao," I had that line, making that work, and hopefully it did. But it was hard because I'd been speaking at that point. I had been speaking Chinese for 11 years and had to pretend I didn't speak it very well. And that was hard. That was challenging. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I think probably the scheduling was it was so intense, wasn't it? And I was filming something else at the time. They let me off to do it. and so I had to leave before I finished the film. So it's wonderful to actually see it all put together, because the team just worked so hard and just blood, sweat, and tears tirelessly. I think personally the biggest challenge was working with about how many children was it? There was a lot of children. And coming up to me going, there's so many children. I was like, let's play a game together. Or like, I'll bring a ball in and I'll like get them all engaged. It'll be great. And the only ball they had was like a volleyball, which is really, really hard. It's not like a football. I just remember it sailing and hitting someone in the face. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I've killed a child. But they were fine. So I think that, and that, and no one on the crafts table.
Well, because the kids ate everything.
Yeah, no supervising adult on the crafts table, so it's full of sugar. And by the end of the day, all these children were just bouncing off the walls. And like Josh, Anna and I were trying to like control these children who were like, we don't want to do it again. What do you mean we've got to do another take? So lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Never work with kids except Harmony.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophie, and I think my biggest, I'm an associate producer on this one, and I think my biggest challenge for this film was I got promoted from art director to associate producer, because I got the trust from Josh and Ann, and the rain effect that you see in the New York, I made that. And I was looking really good, right?
Tell them how you did that. Tell them how you did the rain.
I was like climbing on a ladder, 3-floor or 4-floor ladder. I was raining the rain tower.
With a hose.
Yeah.
Like on a ladder with a hose was
looking really good, right?
Yeah.
That's good. And then I actually played different role when I was in China. Sometimes I have to be the first AD. Sometimes I have to be art department. Sometimes I have to be associate producer. But luckily I met the people that will trust me, give me this chance. That's the sparkle for me to be like, okay, I guess I can give a shot on this producing role. But thank you, Josh.
Oh, I could not have done my job in China without Sophie. Like she literally was like, she was first AD, she was line producing, she was doing SAG stuff, she was like my translator for all the issues that were popping up. I mean, she literally was wearing 12 hats and did an incredible job. So like, I wouldn't have been as sane in China without Sophie. So thank you.
We sing a lot, the song.
Yeah, I used to bug her singing all the Georgia songs over and over again, because they're
it's coming back.
Thanks, Qiana. Yeah. They're very catchy, and we were.
Yeah, I was basically gonna say, as Music Soup, a lot of the original songs that the kids were singing, I mean, we created them for the film, so they weren't like existing songs that we just taught the kids. They were literally written for the film, and so I think the most challenging part was most of them were written when they were in China, and then trying to get the music and trying to make demos and trying to make sure that you knew the songs so that you could teach it to the kids. It was like very authentic. I'm teaching them on set wasn't just acting. It was probably legit. They were learning it as the scene was being shot. So that was probably the most challenging because those songs were written with our composer, but like while they were filming. So everything else he did score-wise obviously was done in a true post situation. So just having that experience and timing of everything, like that was definitely a challenge, but it came out great, and I'm so happy.
Music was awesome. Can you want to say a little bit about Chris Tin and Saeed Garrett?
Yeah, so Christopher Tin is the composer. He's Grammy Award winning, and it was really interesting. I actually sat with Josh and Ann early on. I was on board to help them with music with the original film. So I literally was a part of like, okay, we're focusing on great sort of like New York style music. It's a model thing. It's gonna be all like pop. And then Josh was like, so the movie's changing, and it's now gonna be about dyslexia. I was like, Josh, what are we doing now? Like my head is in a whole different creative space, but it was great. Read the script. Was like, okay, this is gonna be really cool, really interesting, very unique. And so when I met with Anne, her big thing was, I really want someone that understands these two worlds. It's really about bringing together China and America, but also in this experience of this humbler family, right? So like the music really needs to resonate. It needs to feel authentic to both markets, both territories. And you know, for Anne, it was really important to have someone who also authentically, culturally connected. And I was like, ironically, one of my good friends is a composer who happens to be Chinese American. Maybe he'll be the perfect person. And it all came together beautifully. I mean, his pedigree was, of course, what it was, but I mean, he's an excellent person and really, you know, just took to it. It wasn't so much about, you know, we understood it was a passion project to some degree. So it really, for him, was about, wow, I get to authentically create something that resonates with me culturally, and that I love the story. I love that it's the story of what a parent would do, you know, the lengths that they would go to see their daughter have an opportunity that they couldn't have had for themselves. So he just really loved it. I think he became a parent around that same time. It was just so much that added to why it was important for him to be a part of this project. So yeah, he was here earlier. When the photographer runs the photos, you'll see us. We'll be together. But yeah, it was great. Thank you, Josh, again, for having us both.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say briefly, this is Qiana's doing also. One of the women that wrote the ABC song, Saida Garrett, she wrote songs for Michael Jackson. So I really wanted to ask her tonight, she was supposed to be here, like, what was the difference between writing for Michael Jackson and the ABC song and Confetti?
She didn't write ABC for Michael. She wrote Man in the Mirror.
No, that's right, exactly. But anyway, because of Qiana, we had some like world-class talent on the music, including Qiana herself. So
it was so good.
Anyway,
it was awesome.
Yeah, the music really is. Yeah. Any other questions? Is this the first time you guys have seen it?
Yeah.
Do you want to, Harmonie, is this the first time you've seen the movie?
I am.
Yeah.
Do you want to say what you thought of it? How was it watching yourself after 4 or 5 years? You know, what do you guys think watching it?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to know what Harmonie thinks watching
Please.
it, seeing herself.
Okay, it's kind of crazy because I forgot a few of the scenes ever since like a few years ago, obviously, because it's been a while. And I was like, wow, because I've obviously I've improved but from then. So I was like, wow, I grew up. And then I was like, but yeah, this is also really cool because I'm a main character in a feature film. What? It's still crazy to me. I still haven't processed it after a few years. So
Yeah, it's funny too because you've grown as an actor, as a human being, but also height. It's like 3 years for.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a question. Yeah, great job. It's great. So my question is, I'm watching this film as somebody who's lived in China for a long time, and this film. Can you tell us a little bit about why this is not being seen more? Is it available online in China? Because I just feel like it's so much. It's good it's a great film, and it's a really good film for China. And I feel like China people is there a problem with censorship here because it's too pro-American or something like that?
Yes.
Is that what's going on? Okay.
That's going on. Yeah. I was telling a bunch of people this movie was supposed to come out on 30,000 screens March 5th, 2020 in China. So it was going to be part of. China doesn't really have kind of indie platform releases like we do here with specialized movies. So it was going to go out big. Everybody was excited. We were spending money. Anne was over there as late as January of 2020 when she came back. And then, of course, we all know what happened with COVID and everything got canceled. And in the time since then, big anti-American sentiment kind of built up. The movie lost momentum. The exhibition business lost momentum. And we just kind of lost our window. By the time we tried to kind of re-release it really earlier this year, the distributors had a harder time booking it in theaters. It didn't seem to fit with all the big rom-coms and action movies that could roll out in China. They weren't playing a lot of American movies. People weren't rushing back to theaters. So I will say that they tried to do kind of a niche release there where they showed it to educators and universities, and it was very well received, very well received in China by the right audiences. But it just never kind of hit over to the mainstream for a bunch of reasons, structural and political, and
Well, what about
you probably know.
What about online?
So it hasn't hit online yet. They're
'Cause I
looking
feel
for.
like it will, man.
They're looking for
It's
a
like
deal online
core
now,
Chinese culture.
and we're going to eventually have a deal here to stream it or have it available, digitally. But so far, no luck over there. So it was a challenge in China, and who knows what would have happened if it rolled out that March 5th date. We don't know. We can't really look back on it, but I'm just happy that it's here and it seems to be resonating, and we're trying to play it all over the world because obviously this shows a certain perspective, but it's the immigrant experience from many countries that don't recognize learning disabilities and dyslexia. So I hope we can get it seen as wide as possible. Yeah, Tracy, you hadn't seen the movie yet? What'd you think? Or what'd you think, and/or what do you want the audience to take away?
I'd just like to say, when I watched it, I thought, I hated it.
The kids.
I'm joking.
The kids.
Oh, yes, my British humour. Yes.
They're like, is she
I would have
serious?
killed in England.
Oh my god.
I always remember reading the script for the first time and just feeling such a sense of warmth and just being reminded of how important it is that we look inside other cultures and find a way to connect, whether it's through what does dyslexia look like in America, in England, in China, in rural China. And as somebody who didn't find out that they had dyslexia till they were 21, I was told by a teacher, "You're too intelligent to be dyslexic." That was the learning support teacher. So reading this and then watching it today, I had the same feeling of, wow, this is really important, and it's such a wonderful piece that encourages people and gives you a real insight into what it's like to have dyslexia and all the different levels of it and the degrees. And so I thought it was wonderful. And then I also thought, because when it finished, my friend said, yeah, who's that? She's all grown up. So it was wonderful to experience it. So yeah, it gave me the same warm feeling that it did when I first read it all those years ago, living in New York.
Right. Sophie, you'd seen it before, right? What was it like watching it? Because you were obviously intimately involved in creating it.
So I have to say, for the first time I remember I read the script in the living room. I was like, wow, this is like heartwarming script. And I was like, okay, I wanted to be on board and then doing art department job, right? And then during this whole journey from New York, we shot in JFK Terminal 4, and we shot in so many locations. I just couldn't think about it, like how many. And then we went to China, and then we went to Sunman, and the place I have never been. Like it just throughout this whole journey, I couldn't imagine how to be an audience sit down there and watching this film. Josh told me that he's gonna invite me to talk, so I was like, okay, I don't want to cry because I have makeup on. But then I couldn't. I think that's kind of a sentiment of the connection, being like, it's like cross the boundary, no matter you're Chinese or American, no matter from which country you're from, like we understand each other. That's kind of bond us as a group. So sorry, I like it.
Thanks,
yeah.
Sophie. Had you seen it, Qiana? I don't remember. You might have seen it.
I saw a version of it
Yeah.
that is definitely different than this one. But what I was gonna say is that I really enjoyed how I really remember Anne's initial vision from when we were like sitting in West Hollywood talking about it, and I remember also us all feeling like somewhere at the first stages of post, like we hadn't really, it didn't get lost, but we hadn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't landing the way that we were all hoping it would, and I remember you guys. I really enjoyed the process of how you and Anne really did bring it back to the people that you trusted, got the right notes, and I can see the changes, and I think it's so comprehensive and so beautifully put together, and you know, I can definitely see the work. I like some of the musical choices that you guys did in post, which means a year after I probably was on the project still, but I like it. I'm cool with it. Tell Michael I said good job for his additions. But I think it's great. And then I love, personally, I just love the mother-daughter story. I don't think you see a lot of those, and it's so unique and so niche. So I like the idea of the consciousness of the little girl. Like, she really understood what was happening with her mother, and she understood like there's this healing, right, that she's actually the advocate for her mother. And I think that's so special, you know, and really beautifully done, that even despite both of their challenges, they're able to like connect in this way that they didn't expect. So I thought that was really beautiful. I enjoyed that.
Their redemption was intertwined.
Yeah.
So I have one more question, but if anybody else has one, please. Okay, now we got to go. Now everybody has a question. We'll start here.
How long did it take the whole movie to get made from conceptual to actual filming?
Sure.
How many filming days were there?
It was really, for movie standards, it was really quick. It was 4 years. Actually 5 when we kind of envisioned this idea, but we had 1 year of the pandemic, obviously, so we were, you know, so it was really 3-4 years, which is quick. We shot for 21 days in New York, and we shot for a week in China. And it was a very, very tight, I mean, this is a small indie movie, and we shot, I mean, it's amazing what we got out of it and the talent that we got, and it's a testament to everybody. You saw how many people worked on it, you know, so it was like a 26-day shoot, and a lot of locations and a lot of issues. A lot of problems, but we all just barreled through and made this movie. And I have to thanks to Qiana for bringing up our really the edit process. Marie-Pierre Renaud was our editor, and she really helped us find kind of the legs of this movie. It was a long edit process. We probably edited 1.5 years, and she's based in Paris, and Anne went to Paris. You know, Marie-Pierre came to New York, and it was just, we went through many cuts as movies do, and to find this movie's legs. So I hope that we found them. It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have a question? Sorry. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you to them. Thank you. Yeah, we had so many things like that you won't see here. I'll tell a quick Amy Irving story just while I'm thinking about it. So the scene where she looks in the shower and she's having her moment of her own redemption from her son's passing, towards the end of the film, and she's reflecting on the Mei and Lan's journey. So we were shooting in a bathroom. We had the camera crew in the tub, you know, shooting her, and everyone on set was being so loud, and so she just screamed, like, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but she just screamed like, "Shut up!" You know, and she has a very, you know, her presence is like a queen, you know, like, so we were all like, oh my God. Okay, so we all were quiet, and she basically just said, you know, like, I have to find God in 2 minutes, you know, and that's Amy, you know, like, she had to have that moment, and she knew she needed a second to compose herself, and she was so on it every day. Like, we didn't realize how good her every take was until we got to the edit room, like how professional she was and how good she was. So anyway. I don't know why I thought of that. Anybody else before I ask my last question? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. This is a fantastic movie.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to know, have you guys pitched it to like Amazon?
Yeah.
Or to basically Netflix?
Good question.
Netflix.
Yeah, well, the number one, we probably wouldn't be in a theater if we did, because they're obviously all about kind of world premiering on their platforms, and then they might do, you know, an awards run. But the answer is no, we really didn't share with them yet. We are going to now, which might hurt our prospects because we were already showing in theaters, but the investors in China really and Anne herself really wanted this on the big screen, you know. No, we didn't play any. We hit the festival zone right when the pandemic started. We were just about to do festivals in 2020. We were going to open in China, do festivals, then open in the U.S., and it festivals were so uncertain as to whether they were virtual, in person. A lot of them got canceled. So we just decided, the team decided, like, let's just skip it. Let's wait. Let's plan our release. And everybody wanted to see it on the big screen. You know, we wanted it to be a theatrical film. Sorry. Yeah. So now absolutely. Now that we're opening in theaters, we've done a lot of work on the marketing side of this. We're going to share it with Netflix and Amazon and Apple and Hulu and try to get a streaming partner, iTunes. Absolutely. We're going to make sure this is available digitally so everyone in the country can see it. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And while we're on that, your question, I'm just going to plug, as a producer, I have to plug this. So please, if you like the movie, opening weekend is like everything for a film. This is in like 25 cities. It's in New York and LA and Houston and Portland and Chicago and San Francisco. And if you liked it, please post, spread the word, tell your friends. It's Confetti Movie. It's hashtag Confetti Movie. It's at Confetti Movie on Instagram. It's Confetti Movie on Facebook. And confettimovie.com. So please, any mentions really help. And if we do well opening weekend, we have a chance at a second week in theaters. So that's why with independent films and all films, you really push everybody to see it for the opening weekend. So, you know. So Confetti, you saw a little bit in the movie how Confetti, that was totally Anne's idea. And I think it was from kind of the metaphor that confetti is garbage. Really, it's scraps of paper that people throw out. And if you reframe that, it can actually be one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. You saw the scene where it was kind of floating, and it can be colors and beauty if you see it that way, or it can be garbage. So it was just that metaphor that Anne came up with. I don't know, honestly, what was her inspiration with that, but it was just, that's what we thought that was happening with Mei Mei. You know, it was just as easy to throw her, you know, to the drags in China, and but you need to see the unique kind of beauty and innate goodness in everybody, and meet people that help that to flourish and to help bring it out. And I think that's what this movie is about. So, good question though. Please.
I have a weird question.
That's okay.
Just curious, anybody had any discoveries while making the movie? Maybe it's artistic process, maybe it's personal discovery, anything.
That's not a weird question at all. You guys, anybody want to answer? Anybody have any, discoveries about themselves, or discoveries about the world, kind of making this movie?
Probably how. Just a quick one. Thank you. Probably just how protective I became about somebody, like a character who had something that I also had and wasn't supported, and then was supported. And I found myself in some of these scenes like, because we originally had a scene where, Mei Mei fell down the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
And we were, do you remember, we were trying to teach you how to fall. And then every time you would fall,
We had all kinds of police had to be there for that scene. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, and she kind of ran away from me and the mum, and we were like, every take we were like, is she okay? And just the feeling of being so protective over someone that, has what you have, and how it can affect you all those years later. But I hope that people will watch this film and the amazing performances in it, and kind of say, what can I do to help somebody with dyslexia or somebody with a learning challenge? What can I do? And how can I be protective over that person or that person's journey? So seeing it, working on it, I was like, that's like the little child in me. So wherever you see that, whether it's dyslexia or another challenge, I hope that this film encourages you to help that next person.
Thank you. I'll just say for me, I learned, I didn't know how prevalent dyslexia and learning disabilities were around the world. And you saw some of the statistics, and here you take it for granted. I have friends who are dyslexic and who found the right teaching and have gone on to successful lives. But I didn't realize that in many, many countries around the world, how many millions of kids suffer from this and really, never recover and really are judged in society and in their own countries. And So it was kind of eye-opening for me, and I also learned a lot producing-wise how much, how difficult, how much I hate it and how much I love it at the same time.
I got one.
Yeah.
I don't really have a personal discovery, but I think I just had one watching the film. Somebody who's lived and worked in China for a long time, there's a lot of people that want to do what you did. It's like, oh, China and America, the two biggest markets in the world. Why can't we make a movie that can be successful in both of them? Besides Marvel films, which obviously make money everywhere, but something that is actually culturally Chinese, culturally American. And I think what I just discovered is that it can be done.
Really?
I mean, whether the economics is different story, but in terms of because here's the thing, people have tried to do this before, but usually the films suck. I mean, I haven't seen a good one. Maybe I haven't seen all the films out there, but I haven't seen many. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard making we have American actors working in China, or you have American crew. There's all sorts of people in Hollywood who have gone over to China and been in Chinese productions. And you have Chinese actors coming over to Hollywood and doing American films. You don't have a mixed crew and a mixed story. It's hard to do because China and America are kind of Mars and Venus. Yeah. They are two different worlds, and as somebody who's lived in both of them for a long time, it's living parallel lives. It's I'm I flick my ear here and I'm an alien and I'm speaking a different language. It's hard to explain. I mean, all my friends there from the Lawai Club understand because 对吧？你们明白我的意思对吧？是中国美国是完全两个频道嘛？就是 what the hell just happened, right? But this film did that. This film did that, and so my discovery is it can be done and it can be done well. So, good job.
Well, honestly, that's the best compliment we could get because we had no idea whether we could succeed on any level, and but that was the goal. Anne's vision was to show our shared humanity, and that's who Anne is. Anne's been a New Yorker for a couple decades and grew up in China for a couple decades. So thank you. Yeah, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly,
and I didn't know if it was until I saw it.
Yeah,
I hope it
I
works.
still don't. I watch it and I'm like, is this going to resonate, with everybody? And so, but no, I think this was such a challenging experience. But the minute it was over, I wanted to do it again. So I guess I do love producing. I take it back. So I think we got to probably get out of here. But my own question to you guys is, this whole group has been blowing up since the movie, before the movie. And I just want to ask what you're doing, what you've been doing, and what you're doing next, because it's some incredible things. Maybe I just went to a big premiere. Tell them, Harmony.
So on Monday, I just went to a Marvel premiere, and it's really surreal right now because it's crazy that 2 premieres in 1 week. What?
Yeah. No,
what?
but you were in the movie. You
Yeah.
acted in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I got in, and at the audition, I saw another friend of mine who's also a really good actor, and she was also at the audition. And I'm like, okay, there's 90% chance I won't get this, and then I was like, what? What? So yeah.
Before George goes, I want to acknowledge before George goes, Cynthia. So Harmony's mom, where is she? Cynthia, stand up, because Cynthia, you were awesome. Without Cynthia preparing Harmony, and Cynthia was our on-set photographer. She was basically a part of the crew and was with us in China and the U.S. And we couldn't have made this movie without Harmony's mom. So thank you, Cynthia. Sorry, George. This is becoming quite the multi-hyphenate.
Oh.
What's wrong? Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah. Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, sorry.
The main thing that I've been doing, the main thing I've been doing is I went to China in 2018 to do this, and then I went back to China again in 2018 to do another show, and then I came back here in 2019, and Philip, is that you back there, bro? Okay, there he is, yeah. This is my brother, he's my really good friend and director, and we basically just produced a film together. And we just shot it, we wrote it all throughout COVID. We were gonna shoot it last year, and then we were, COVID happened, and then we shot it in Utah. And so yeah, that's the main thing for me. Basically just...
What's it called?
Out on a Limb.
And you acted in it, produced it.
Yeah, Philip and I co-wrote it. He directed it. I did most of the producing stuff with the help of, like I said, it takes a village.
Yes.
It's definitely. But yeah, and then I acted in it as well. It's pretty cool Western. We're in post right now. We're going through the whole process you guys just went through, except it's smaller scale, obviously, but it's a lot of work.
Yep.
So yeah, out on a limb. Look for it. Hopefully it'll do really well and maybe have some legs in the future. So.
Congrats.
So I am the lead in a new BBC drama called Show Trial. So that's really exciting. It's a legal drama about a lawyer who takes a case on and she thinks it's going to be this open shut case, and it is not. I've got to be legally careful here, but one of the first women who look like me and women to lead a show on BBC One history of the channel. So I'm really excited about that, and loving World Productions for helping make that happen. So awesome.
And it comes out when?
It's coming out October of this year. So we just finished this summer. It's coming out, and I just happened to be in LA doing a game for Disney, and this is happening. So this is awesome. Yeah, good timing.
Awesome. Congrats.
So basically, after Confetti, it just kind of like I got inspired by Anne and Josh, and I was, because of the promotion from art director to associate producer, and I felt like, okay, because I actually sometimes, if I'm a freelancer in New York for many years, and sometimes if I can't, I was a first AD in New York for many, but art director is just like I couldn't pay my bill, I jump on art department to do some art. But because of this film, it's kind of give me a hope, and Josh was setting a role model for me as a producer. He was so calm and very talented, very skillful to handle all the problems. And so I felt maybe I can give a shot. So I applied for AFI, and I got into a producing program.
Awesome.
And Josh and Anne wrote the recommendation letter for me. And I also invite my AFI friends here, and my thesis director and my boyfriend. They're all from AFI. So my journey is about to start it, but my journey wasn't gonna start without this movie.
And I'm going to be working for Sophie very soon.
I know work with
sure.
Josh.
For sure.
Okay, and so continuing doing some more work with Josh. Josh actually was the EP on my first project as a music supervisor. Made for TV movie we did for Lifetime that was based in New York. Ironically, I am also music supervising a television show on Showtime called Flatbush Misdemeanors. So you can catch it on Showtime. It started May 23rd. It ended in July, but you can go and stream that. And it's also based on Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York, which is where I actually lived when I was working on the film with Josh. So I'm in a full life circle moment with that. I'm also working on a project for Comedy Central, maybe something with Netflix or Freeform. We'll see what they say in a few weeks. And then I'm still doing some producing, and myself was inspired by working with Josh and doing some directing as well. So.
And you kind of run the organization that puts on the Grammys?
I don't in that light, but I do. I also have a day job, and so that includes working with the LA chapter here for the Recording Academy. So yes, that's also part of. I'm a music person who also really loves music for visual media. So my personal businesses in music supervision, music clearance, music licensing, but I have a background in A&R and publishing and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people in music, so that helps the day job. Put it like that. So thanks, Josh.
So modest, Qiana. So these are all incredible people. Please follow them in their careers, and congratulations to all of you on your pursuits. And thank you so much on our movie. And I love you all, and thank you guys so much. Yeah.